On. Happy, I don't know, whatever today is. Listen,
Happy New Year. It's still New Year.
Happy New Year. So today is going to be more of like an open forum. If you guys have questions, like please put them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. In reference to real estate, and investing, things like that. But we're gonna have an open forum. We're just going to talk for a little bit. Hopefully, this will either inspire change, or who knows, maybe even get you to do something that's worth your while.
hmm
So,
hmm
with that being said, Hank, one of the things that you know, well, first let's start with what you wanted to discuss first, and then I'll interject if need be.
Well, Leland, actually, and everybody, Leland, you and I have been trying for a while now to motivate people to get out of their own way, and we have created topics. We've provided education. We've provided roadmaps. We've provided opportunity. Um, we have held people's hands. We've coached and mentored them. We have done as much as we could thus far to help people to be more successful. And I think the challenge for me, as I was sitting here you and I were talking beforehand, was trying to figure out what should we talk about today. Because last week we talked um, about resolutions and how fruitless for many people that is, because only 9% of them really follow through. And I can remember some years ago I was talking to my mentor, and he said something to me. I said, well, I want to do XYZ. And he looked at me and smiled. And I'm looked at him, I'm going like, uh, did I say something wrong? He said, no, you said what you were thinking. He said, but Hank, my question to you is, do you wanna, or are you gonna? So I said to the audience today, which category do you fall into? Do you fall into the category of I want to do something, or do you fall into the category I'm gonna do something? Because we all wish. I think when I was a young kid, my I don't know whether it was my grandmother um would talk about wishing and wanting and what have you, and it was about do something in one hand, crap in one hand, and wish in the other, and which one gets filled the fastest. And and I was young, I didn't really understand it, but I thought about it, and then I started to laugh, because the one you crap in will get filled quicker than the one you wish in. And lots of us wish. We wish we had this. We wish we were taller. We wish we were better looking. We wish we had we wish we had a I don't know. For some of us, we may want a taller spouse, or I don't know. Well, we wish we had this, or we wish we could do that. We keep wishing. And I've come to realize, and really believe, that you can wish all you want to, but unless you create a plan, have a strategy, you can wish. I wish I never die, but nothing I can do about it. So I say all of that to say, because I was reading something that just sort of kind of hit home for me, because my mentor said something to me, and he said, this was some time ago. I mean, I said some years ago. And he says, Hank, he says, I want you to look back over the last 5 to 10 years and tell yourself how your life has really changed. And I thought about it. I still lived in the same house. I drove a similar car. I had similar slash common challenges of becoming more financially free, or keeping the kids in private school, or taking a vacation, or being stress free. That's where I was. I may have made a few dollars more, but I was in the same pig pen.
Hmm.
Am I making sense? So
Absolutely.
so then he says, Hank, do you have a strategy for success? And I thought about that and I'm going like, well, obviously I don't. If I've been doing the same thing over the last 5 or 10 years and getting the same results, okay, I needed to do something differently, but I didn't know what it was that I needed to do or how to do it. And he said, tell you what, sit down and give me a list of 10 things, ten goals you'd like to accomplish over the next year or so. And as I sat there and he said, and so remember, Hank, they'll be your goals, not something for me, something for you to become a better person mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, or what have you. And I'm going like, wow, I could do that. But then as I sat there and started to write out to 10 things, I started to be somewhat narrow-minded and in what it is that I could do, because almost everything that I was looking at was being a better husband and a better father and all this other stuff, which is all well and good and noble gestures. But somewhere in that equation was a dollar sign. I needed to become
Hmm.
more financially successful. And then I realized that my employer decided how much money I made, when I took a break, when I went on vacation, where I went on vacation, what kind of house I lived in, what kind of food I ate. What I'm saying is that your employer is making those decisions for you, and you may not think about it. You may be happy that you got a job. And I'm saying that that job that you're happy with is keeping you unhappy in your ordinary life.
Let me precaution real quick. So I hear this often that sometimes when people hear other people talk about a job, et cetera, that some people immediately jump to the notion, well, that means that I have to get rid of my job. And that's not what that means. It could mean that maybe you want to replace your job's income. So in other
Mhm.
words, you could remain at such job, and you can remain at that job faithfully and still be diligent, still earn an income, et cetera, until you yourself are truly ready to, in fact, go ahead uh, and leave that job or replace that job or fire
Mhm.
your. It does not mean that you immediately, without having a strategy, without having a proven system, doesn't mean that you immediately quit. Now, you may pray to God, and God might answer you and say, "Quit right now." And if so,
That's it.
that's it. Go
That's
for it.
it. That's it.
You know. But I feel like it's funny that I'm doing this, but I feel like for adults, you know, you
Well,
gotta you gotta say it because some people are just you know I gotta quit
Leland,
my job. So I quit my job. It's like okay,
Leland, did I tell you the epiphany I had when I left before I left corporate America?
I want to say yes. You can tell me again though.
Well, let me see if I can help people to understand that at some point in time you'll be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
At
And
some point,
this has been a minute, but um, my wife and I, my family, we had a what I would consider a great life. I was in corporate America. My wife is a medical doctor, kids in private school, lived in a big house, drove nice cars, all that other stuff. And I was always worried about something happening. And again, that's the self fulfilling prophecy. Because if you think something will happen, it will, based on the law of attraction. So I was working for someone who was somewhat a micromanager, and sometimes people are fearful of your abilities. They feel threatened, and they will constantly try to put a lid on you. And I remember I was just tired and frustrated, and because I had all of this angst, my family was having angst. And I remember going to before going to sleep that night, I prayed to God. I said, "Hey, Lord, you know what I'm up against." And tonight, for the first time, I would just like a good night's rest and let him know that, hey, you know what I'm up against. And again, I go to bed. Probably I was asleep before my head hit the pillow. I woke up the next morning, dropped my daughter off at private school. I mean, at school. She wasn't in private school then, and and realized that I slept all night. And I'm driving down the road, and all of a sudden God said, resign, quit your job. And I argued with God for about 5 or 10 minutes. And he
Only
said, I'm sorry.
only 5 or 10.
Well, well, yeah. I don't argue long. I don't argue. So anyway, he said, last night you prayed to me for a solution, and I'm giving it to you. Quit. I came to my senses. I resigned from that job,
Mhm.
and I've been out of there for a number of years. And the point was that shackles were removed. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I believe that if God answers your prayers, He will create a pathway. And I say that all to say that I knew that I had the ability because I had tried other stuff.
Mhm.
I've been told that I was reasonably intelligent. I was told that I was reasonably analytical.
Mhm.
I had demonstrated that I could do multiple things as I put on my glasses. And then at the time I read a book, and it says that successful people have positive thinking,
Mm.
that they overcome failure,
Okay.
that they have vision,
All right.
they set goals,
That's
they
good.
are they are reasonably efficient time managers.
Reasonably efficient time managers.
Reasonably, yeah, because I could be type A and drive you nuts, or I can manage. They know how to handle stress. They know how to build and keep relationships. They become good communicators. They are motivated, and they know how to motivate. And there's a word that people don't consider them in their lexicon, and that is leadership. I say all of that to say that um, we are constantly looking for answers. We're searching for answers, and answers come by all the time. But we're so busy being busy that we don't acknowledge, we don't pay attention to what presents itself to us. And as a result of that, we stay stuck. And then we blame somebody else for our own inefficiencies and inadequacies, and the fact that we're still sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was telling my daughter, actually, I was telling my wife last week. We were sitting down and we were talking about something. We were getting ready to do something now, and I said, "Honey," I said, "Are you concerned about anything?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Honey, I mean, is there are there any worries on you physical, mental, emotional, financial, social? Are there any worries?" And she said, "No, honey, I think I'm in a good place." And I said, "Okay." I said that because that's how I feel. We have the ability to do or not do. And I'm not boasting. I'm just saying that don't have to punch a clock, don't have to argue with people, don't have to manage anybody. They don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I don't have. And to me, that's liberating. And it may not make sense to anybody, but again, as I said, 75% of Americans are winging it when it comes to their financial future. Now, I can remember wanting to be a millionaire. Okay. And then I ask myself, what does that mean? Does that mean having a millionaire's attitude? Does it mean having $1 million in the bank? Does it mean having assets of $1 million? Does it what does it mean? Because sometimes having nothing can make you feel better than having all of this stuff that you think is important.
There are people that disagree with that, I'm sure.
I can remember when I met my wife, she and I wanted, I liked the Jaguar. Didn't know her at the time, and one of my aspirations was to own a Jag. We got married, and and we were talking about something, and she said, "Well, I really like the Jaguar." And I looked at her, and she said, "Why you look at me like that?" I said, "I had no idea." So we go out and we buy a Jag. We own a Jag. Well, let me help you with that, folk. Be careful what you wish for, because that Jag owned us. Every time we took her to the shop, it was $500 to $1,000, and trust me, we took it to a shop a lot. Okay, I say that to say we were wanting to keep up with the Joneses. We wanted to be trendsetters. We wanted to do all of that, and that Jag became a money pit. You said, well, I mean, it was a lemon. I don't care whether you call it a lemon or not. I tell you what, when I drove it, I got attention. Now, and because I'm bringing it around, was I driving the Jag because I really wanted the Jag, or was I driving the Jag because I wanted to impress somebody? And God said, "You trying to impress? I'll fix you." So rather than me owning the Jag, as I said before, the Jag owned us. So what am I saying? What do you really want? I mean, really, that's what do you really want? And are you willing to pay the price to get it? You want something else out of life? What is it? And do you have a plan to get it done? My wife and I are looking at a brochure on taking a European cruise sometime later in the summer. It's what a European cruise? What? Listen, a European cruise is not 3,000 people on this big yacht. It's about 90 cabins, and for about 7 or 8 days, you're going down the Danube or down the Rhine, or you're just taking it easy and stopping and enjoying the vineyards and the food and what have you in some of these countries, all inclusive. And I'm going like, baby. And so I said, hey, let's find one. I said, let's find two. Why? I ain't got no children to feed, no pets. I got none of that stuff. And so what kind of life do you lead? A happy one.
Somebody said it was happy because you said no children to watch over.
Well, no, I've got kids that love my kids. They love us, and they said, "Mom and Dad, why don't you take vacations? Why don't you do things like you used to?" And I'm sitting back and thinking, they're right. Why don't we? I mean, when we set out in life to become successful, we don't qualify what success looks like, what it is to us. And that's why I said at the onset something about setting goals. What how do you spell relief? When was the last time you went on vacation and not ask yourself if you could afford to? Are you living in your dream home? Are you living in, dream home doesn't mean you live in a gated community. Okay. Are you driving your dream car? What is it that you're doing for your kids? Are you being all flashy? I've got friends with very deep pockets and they do not drive expensive, fancy cars. They might be in a Buick. They might be in a Honda. They might be in a Hyundai. They might be in a cheap Lexus. Well, Lexus aren't cheap. You could buy the LS series, 600, 500, or you can just get a nice little Lexus, a 350. Do you have to have the most expensive to be happy? So I guess I ask again, how do you spell relief? If you want more out of life, you have to be willing to do more, not 110% of your effort. You say, well, yes, I can. No, you and your sum total is 100%. Where you going to find another percent? You got 24 hours a day. How you going to find 25? How you going to find 25? So the point is that you have to be a good manager. You have to have good plans. You have to have a decent strategy. And as I think about it, and then I'm going to hush. A couple times I have said, I have a coach, I have a mentor. I have someone that I can get advice, someone who has done what I want to do, that have climbed Mount Everest. So Leland, I don't know whether you remember, like, a couple of weeks ago, we were saying something about Warren Buffett,
Yeah,
and and when he speaks, everybody listens, right?
I hope so.
Does he listen to anybody?
Yes. Yeah.
Need I say anything else?
As a matter of fact, Warren Buffett sought after a gentleman named was it Malcolm Graham or Benjamin Graham? Excuse me, Benjamin Graham, because he wanted to learn his method of investing. And Warren took a altered method from Benjamin Graham, and that's what we have what we call value investing today. And that's how he gained his wealth by using what he learned from his mentor. And then he befriended a man named Charlie Munger, became a business partner with him, and they both, even to this day, like in their 90s or so, they both bounce off ideas, with each other seamlessly.
They have built trusting relationships.
Absolutely.
They have integrity. They have honesty. They have character. They have ethics. They have humility. So the point is, what characteristics do you have to become a better person? Are you trusting? Are you willing to hitch your wagon to somebody else? Okay, to learn more, to be better. And Leland, we said last week, we've got an apprenticeship program where we hold people's hands. We have one-on-one sessions with them to understand the whole idea of wholesaling real estate.
Yeah, that's correct.
But yet there are times that we lament about why they don't do certain things, where all they have to do, not all, but the simplest thing that they have to do, because we give them, I'm sorry, what do we give them to do what it is that we try to help them to do, Leland? I'm sorry.
I mean, metaphorically, we if we're digging a hole, we give them the tools to dig.
That's it.
Well, that's the best
And
I can put.
a road, we give them the road map, blinking lights along the road. There are neon signs saying turn here, slow down. And the only thing we want them to do is get in the vehicle and drive.
Yeah.
Not just start it up, because my mentor says, Hank, you cannot steer a parked car.
That's true.
So here we are, eager to help them, and sometimes I might show a little bit of anxiety, frustration, because they don't do, and so because they don't do, they can't do. They'll never get away from having financial worries or other worries if they are unwilling, because I didn't say unable, unwilling to take
And
the steps.
yeah.
So my question to the audience is, are you unwilling or unable to make a difference in your own life or the life of your family? Do you have the mental capacity to do more? Do you have the desire, the personal desire to be more? Not like your neighbor, not like your brother in law. Find somebody that you can sit down with, create a relationship with, and find a road dog. Find somebody. As I told you guys before, somehow or another, 2 years and 2 months ago, Leland Baptist says, "Hey, come, let's talk."
I want to say something, and this is something that I learned, which is the cool thing with life is that you don't have to do everything on your own.
That's
The
true.
scary thing is that oftentimes when people want to do things on their own, they're not pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're just
Mm-hmm.
not. You're just not good at it. So why waste? Why waste that opportunity?
Mm, 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 mm.
Why waste the opportunity?
I can remember some time ago, and I've used this expression a couple times. Someone asked me that if I knew that I could make $100,000 a year shoveling crap, would I do it? And some people are listening, going like, "Man, I wouldn't do that." And they're making $12 an hour. And at the end of shoveling crap, you get in the shower, you wash it off, and you go about your business. And people could give a rat what you do. They just see that you are becoming. So only thing I would say is, no, not the only thing. One of the things I would say is, stop focusing on being and concentrate on becoming, because you have the ability. There are processes in place. You can find it. But if you're satisfied, if you're really satisfied with where you are in life now, your success or lack thereof, your financial situation or lack thereof, if you want to continue to struggle, fine. There's nothing in the world that we can do to help you. And if you're going to have such a big ego that you think that you're the sharpest knife in the drawer, have at it. Have at it. But
I
just
want
like you are unwilling to follow somebody else's lead, how many people are really willing to follow you?
mm, that's sad. That's sad. I want to take it just one step further. You mentioned about becoming, and uh, the the prefix of becoming is be.
Mm, mm, mm.
And I just want people to understand that to be, it's kind of weird. It's like the word be in itself is so short, but it's so powerful because to be something, you have to believe, but then you also have to identify as that thing.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay.
You have to identify as that thing. So the real question is, what do you identify as?
Unfortunately, Leland, I think so often we identify ourselves based on other people's impressions, ideas, definition of us. And we're always looking for someone else's approval
Yeah.
or acceptance. So we said we were going to freelance today. I'd like to give you a homework assignment. On a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle of that paper and write all the things that you dislike about your current life and situation. And on the other half, put all the things that you like about your current situation. And when you have done that, I want you to cut the paper in half, throw away the things that you dislike about your situation, and make a copy of the things that you like about your situation and put them on the mirror in the bathroom, put a copy on the refrigerator, put them where you can constantly see the fact that you like something about you, and start to focus on the things that you like about you. And eventually, the things that you dislike about yourself will become a distant memory. Can you do that for yourself? Will you? Will you do that for yourself? Because as you focus on the things that you like about yourself, you will create a strategy to improve whatever those things are. And hopefully, in doing so, you will become. So, and in becoming, therefore, the I am.
Well, I guess that's all the time we have for today. I hope you guys can become. You know what? So think about that. Isn't that a movie by I could be wrong. Let's see here.
It, there's so much information out there, I couldn't unpack that either, Leland. But it's just the idea that I'm just trying to help people to get out of their own way. Because we talked about habits, and it takes 60 plus days to create and sustain a new habit. Read a book, Strategy for Success. For Christmas, I got 5 books. How many books did you get? Not you, Leland. How many books did you get? Those of you who are listening, did anyone think enough of you to give you a book?
Oh, hey, that's a low blow right there.
I know I've learned, because again, I can only talk about what I know and what I've experienced. Lead, Lead. Leaders are readers, and readers are leaders. And for me to be able to lead, I must what?
Must read.
And people say, well, I don't like that. I said, well, okay, you can change your mind and read, or read and change your mind. In either instance, you have to do what, Leland?
You gotta read.
You gotta read. I don't care whether you like it or not. Okay. I did not read this whole book. I just read the topics, the major chapter headings. Okay. Have I read the book? Yes. Obviously, I read it because I keep referring to this book. And this, because books are for anybody who want to learn something. So I'm just happy for all of you. You know, you plug in, I'm happy for you. You don't plug in, I'm happy for you. Are you happy for yourself?
Whew.
I know. I know. And when you're ready to find something that will help you to change your financial lot in life, where you don't have to sell the farm to do it, and you're willing to learn a few things, there's a banner that keeps running at the bottom of this. Just check it out. That's all. You say, well, hey, you trying to sell me something? No, I'm trying to help you. Because if you're not willing to get advice from somebody else, next year this time you'll be exactly where you are today. 5 years from now, you'll be exactly where you are today. You may change jobs, you may change titles, you may change companies like you change your underwear, but the point is, how many pairs can you wear? So I'm it's a nice sunny day here in Indiana. And I told my wife that I'm going to get on the lawnmower and go out and mulch some leaves. I know people say, "What? You just said that you got it." Listen, I do certain things to maintain a certain degree of physical physical ability and agility. So if I can't pay, I can, but I'm not going to pay people to do stuff that I can do for myself. Because then by doing that, I can now take that cruise. What can you do? You know, you're thinking long and hard, my friend. What's up?
No, I say some people may not understand, but one day, hopefully, they will. That's all.
That's all. We're here to help you. We're not here to beat you up. I'm not trying to beat anybody up. I'm not all high and mighty and powerful. Hey, I just listen. I just listen. I read and I listen. I apply. I read, I listen, I apply.
The one thing I'll say real quick is that the book that I was mentioning, or I said is a movie. It's a book by Michelle Obama called Book.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
that is right. Oh, I have that. Yeah.
so
Okay.
I'll leave that there. With that being said, we wish you guys the best of luck. We will see you guys in a couple of days. Have
Hey,
a
love you.
great
Thank you.
day, and talk to
Yeah.
you guys soon.